We are streaming. Right, well, good afternoon and welcome everyone to our live streamers and to councillors and observers and other council staff that are here this afternoon to our first meeting of May. Bearing in mind that today's been an early start, so 3 standing committee meetings have already been conducted today, starting at 8:30. So, councillors, it's been a good day, and obviously 3 meetings down and our general meeting to go. So, councillors, I think Councillor Bell is in the building somewhere. So, we have an apology previously recorded from Councillor Cypher. So, to get started, is someone happy to move Councillor Cypher? Moved by Councillor Daniel, seconded Councillor Nixon. That we acknowledge Councillor Cypher's apology for today's meeting. So, all in favour? Against? Thank you. All right, councillors, and we're expecting Councillor Bell to wander in here any time. Any leaves of absence is required for the coming cycle. Our next meeting, our next general meeting will be in Blackwater, in our community consultation down there. So, any other leaves of absence is required? All good? Well, if Councillor Bell has one to add to that, we'll grab that when he comes in. All right, councillors, as is our norm, it's our first meeting of each month that we lead off our gathering this afternoon. Certainly the opportunity of having one of the churches together and Churches United group in Emerald to come and address us. And it's Pastor Tim Seth, this opportunity today from the Emerald Christian Assembly. So I know you're right down the end there, Tim, and you're not necessarily seated at the right hand of the Father, but we're certainly in the right position there. So, Pastor Tim, if you could lead us through this afternoon as a lead-off, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. I'll happily take any seat. Doesn't have to be on the right hand side. Just quickly, I just thought I'd share just briefly from Romans, and we'll just lead into a small encouragement that we'd like to offer you each on behalf of the Emerald churches together. So in Romans we read that the Bible says to us, obey the government, for your God is the one who has put it there. All governments have been placed in power by God. So those who refuse to obey the laws of the land are refusing to obey God, and punishments will follow. The authorities do not frighten people who do right, but they frighten those who do wrong. So do what they say and you will get along well. The authorities are sent by God to help you. And I guess from our perspective, we just wanted to encourage you that this is, a very important role in our community and in our surrounding communities. And constantly at the forefront of our minds on behalf of the Emerald churches together to make sure that we pray for you each, and as you lead our communities and lead our council, that you'll make wise decisions. So please understand that we support your activities. Let's open for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your goodness to us. We thank you for the opportunity to come here today and to reside over the governments of your communities, Lord. Lord, we just pray that each one of us will draw closer to you, and we will understand your heart. We will understand your wisdom, your grace and your mercy. We thank you for the many blessings you give us in this region. And we pray that, Lord, we will submit to your government as we lead in these positions of leadership. In Jesus' name, amen. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Thank you. All right. Councillor Bell, just if we can flip backwards to any leads of absence, you've got nothing coming up? All good? Okay.
Yeah.
All good. All right, councillors, well, if we can swing back to our agenda on page or item 5, the confirmation of our minutes to do meeting on the 24th of April. On page 3. There's someone that questions who'd like to move those minutes, please. Moved by Councillor Brimmerton, second by Councillor McIntyre. Just take a moment just to check those, please, to see if there's any inaccuracies or something you'd like to see changed there. Let's run through to page 7, I think. There's a cast of thousands there. That was certainly our presentations to our nominees for some of those awards, as Queensland Training Awards. All right, councillors, there's no changes there. We're going to move in a second. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Any business arising into those minutes? Any updates anyone want to provide?
Just a query on the nominations for the different awards for training.
Yes.
Do you know when we know about those? No comment?
I can provide an update. I think Councillor Brimble came during this demand. We have provided a couple of updates through that forum that the CEO has been providing to the council on the week that was. A number of those candidates have made, I suppose, the short list, for want of a better term. I don't know the timings around how that will play out from there, but obviously, as we head towards that meeting in Mackay, I think in the next couple of months, we're certainly no closer to the time, but we're excited by the fact that we've sort of got people on the short list and could be on the podium. Nevertheless, everyone and their involvement are winners as far as the organisation is concerned, and the work that they've done in receiving the nomination.
So I think Scott's update there was 5 of the 8 that made the shortlist. Scott was just saying the 21st of July, I think, might be the blue ribbon day for those. As Jason rightly points out, I mean, obviously the fact that we saw the outstanding confidence and presentations they had in this boardroom, so we wish them all the best. Any other queries out of those? Any business arising?
Just in relation to business arising, I suppose it's not really arising, but the CHDC Caddick Support Tour that council supported my attendance at, I just want to say how fantastic it was, and reports still getting tabled, but I look forward to sharing with you some of the key learnings from that, but it was absolutely fantastic. I can't speak highly enough of it. And, the mayor was obviously on that trip as well. He might have a comment, but yeah, so my thanks to you for supporting my attendance.
I certainly just want to endorse Deputy Gale's comments. Certainly, Gale attended on our council's behalf, and certainly my role as CHDC and other and as a councillor. It was certainly great, certainly for Gale and I to be Central Highlands Regional Council, I can tell you, because that group of people and certainly the reception to each of those reports was very much not about, I suppose, the novelty of the fact that a group of regional councils had organised this, but certainly that in terms of where supply chains are heading and just the, I suppose, the foresight to actually be at the forefront of actually wanting to be at those places. They've got expansion plans. They were just so pleased that in terms of the effectiveness and the completeness of the supply chain was provided by a regional council. We certainly, this council and the initiatives you've taken were commended by lots of people. So I can honestly say that it's only the start of a very good process. It's going to keep going. So we'll hear a lot more about that. But it was certainly great that we were able to go on to it.
And the great thing was I could actually talk Port Lingo. I knew Demurridge. I knew what a reefer was.
Well,
and not sandals. So there's a lot to learn, and yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's certainly the way of the future, and to be there and be part of those conversations going forward is really exciting. I think, yeah, looking forward to continue. I suppose the next step is to continue the good work that was done on that too, as I'm sure that's in capable hands with Alexander.
And then just comment from the week that we just had down the beat that the trip that you've had was actually talked about. So others in the community know about it and really impressed.
Thanks, Christian. All right, councillors, review of our outstanding meeting actions. I think you'll see that there's a fair few of those completed. Are there any other comments or updates there that are at least relevant there? Any of you want to comment? think that they're either pretty well updated or either dealt with in agendas or they're just about completed, so that's pretty responsible. No queries there?
So we'll, on the smart communities, Megan will, who went with you, Daniel? So will he do the report?
Yes, we would probably do it. I was thinking of the communities, same committee, categories general, but yes. Whichever is required.
Yeah. As you can see, councillors through those departmental updates from the community department, they hold the record for providing the most detail. So I'm sure you'll get a report here from Mr. Fletcher. It's good to see that councils can identify a number of grant-worthy projects in that space.
Yeah.
So it's a good practical outcome.
Right, councillors, that wonderful pink document, which we will review next, which is the upcoming agenda items. I suppose that we just made that general comment this morning. Chair Deputy Garland has said in her finance meeting that we might look at the effectiveness of that review. Mr. CEO, just about that, I mean, I think the explanation around it was originally to get some time frames around actually making sure certain issues actually were coming up and that was nominated. So I think it was just a comment this morning we might just.
Yeah, probably following on from Councillor Bell's, issue in terms of, how do we get a better process and system going that allows, a more effective way of, setting agenda items for upcoming meetings. I don't know, I think we just generally feel this is probably not the best way. We refresh this as part of the other conversation we're having around,
and probably contributions to agendas, forthcoming agendas.
I think that'd be through you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's a good timing.
Yeah.
The comprehensive review into council's meetings and governance arrangements. Managing those meetings has been completed, as you're aware, by Manager Governance Carl Bendel. That goes to the executive leadership team for review tomorrow, and council at the next meeting will be provided with both the original or unedited Dendel review, along with some feedback or perspective from the executive leadership team, and then it will be over to council to make some important decisions regarding the future of the committee structure, or preservation of the committee structure, and a host of other changes and tweaks that can be made to improve our process for meetings. And if we can add to that the expectation to improve those forward schedules for reports. It's important to remember too, councillors, that you drive this agenda. So it's quite fitting for you through those committee meetings or general meetings or strategy forums to request reports at particular times around particular issues. So, we seek to provide these reports to the council at the appropriate time, but there are some things that it would be prudent to visit them at a particular point in the year so that we can inform strategy and budget going forward. And be very brief, and I'd like to share this with council at my earliest convenience, but it's a list of all of our strategic documents. And you might think, how many would we have? Most councils have around 100 strategies. We've probably got more, but it'd be important for you to at least see this list so that you're aware of particular resources that we need to revisit and refresh. And some of the decision making we undertake is probably conducted in isolation to some of those strategies, where it should really be the strategy that's being amended, and then the root issue or the symptom is addressed through the strategy. So there's an opportunity for us to turn that back around and link the strategic documents and the good work that's been completed in the past to current decision making. So it's good timing, Mr. Mayor. So next meeting will be looking at some important decisions to be made in relation to this place.
All right, councillors, agenda item 9, which is MPI, material personal interest, conflict of interest, personal gifts and benefits. Then we've got Anything to declare? Right, councillors, item 13.2, which is in, it's the request for extension for a relevant period, which is in the community section. I would have a potential material personal interest there, that's my next door neighbour. And I'll not be present in the room for that discussion, so I'll ask Deputy Gale to chair the meeting when I step out there. So, no other conflict of interest, personal interest? All right, councillors, no petitions to see you?
No, thank you.
No, right. Okay, well, the first report that we have today in our departments is in communities, and that's a discussion around the game plan. Daniel would normally be here to introduce that. As someone proxying on his behalf today to introduce that.
I can do that very briefly,
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Mayor,
you,
and Jared coming down, I believe. In the information provided to me from General Manager Daniel Fletcher in regards to the game plan report for Council today, I was to emphasise that there have already been a couple of engagement sessions with communities and clubs, and what you have before you today is merely a draft policy. That draft policy is seeking council's endorsement to then go and further engage with the clubs in regards to the draft proposal. So that's all the purpose of the report is today, and he just asked me to emphasise that for you. The engagement that's already occurred, those comments from the community and the clubs have been incorporated in this draft policies. With that, I'll hand over to the manager, Jared, to provide you any other information and answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors, Mr. Mayor. I think Michelle's covered it quite adequately in relation to the report. Obviously, a brief report seeking council's endorsement for us to continue with the consultation. So again, providing the draft tenure framework and wanting to continue on that theme of consulting and getting their further input into the documentation that's been provided thus far, and following up on the overall process. So happy to receive any questions from there.
Councillors, and bearing in mind, I think in that last round of meetings, there was a few committee members who weren't able to attend through other things, but I think there's been a significant amount of, I suppose, information around certainly some costings and what have you. There's around some of the utilities, and this is obviously a case of and wording around the recommendations about the continuation of that community engagement. I think that's pretty important. That the certainly whilst there's been some more modelling and costings that have run through as part of the very I guess you'd say detailed assessment of certainly costs in relation to provision of these activities across the Central Highlands. As it becomes more and more, I suppose, complete in its entirety, the reality is at some point you've got to make a continuation of drafting the game plan into a working environment. So there's a couple of key words there, and endorsing that draft is exactly that. It's actually just asking us to be able to go forward with what we have drafted around tenure. It's certainly in no way, shape or form. I've been very, very careful about saying this in community and the opportunities we've had. About obviously to take this process forward, a lot of information has to be collected, and it has been. But obviously to keep it moving, we've got to still go to those engagements to get sign off by our community. I think the wording around that today is pretty key. Nothing's been, I suppose, adopted completely in its entirety. This was always going to be part of this process. So I guess if councillors, and there's still obviously some questions being asked in our community, those questions are being answered. We're in a better position now in terms of some of those utility costs, which is, at the end of the day, what our communities want to know about what is this going to cost and change to the way we're doing things now, and the impact on clubs and what we need to do. And it's very much, and it's always going to be very much about making sure we've got all the information going forward. So I think this is if I haven't overemphasised this enough, this is about just the endorsement of being able to continue with that work on the basis of what's been collected and what we hope to keep achieving with this process. Councillors, I guess if there were some questions, I mean, Courtney and Jared are certainly in a position there to answer some of the practical operational parts of it. Councillor McIndoe might be able to respond to some of the committee discussions at those last couple of meetings that people weren't present. But certainly, if there's some other questions to ask in the process, now's the opportunity. Over to councillors. So, yes, Councillor Wall.
Can I please ask of the Game Plan Committee at the last, and the people who weren't there, that are members of that committee, whether those absent members actually endorse that this recommendation, because when you're reading through the advisory group terms of reference, at that time of the meeting, when the water charges and fees and charges were put up, to my mind, there wasn't a quorum. So my question is...
I'm happy to address that through the chair. Under the terms of reference, to have a quorum, there's simply a 50% there. From my recollection, there was Mr. Daniel Fletcher, Mr. Jared, Mr. Mack, Danielle, or 2 community members on that, which leaves that makes 5 out of 9, which is simply a 50%. So those are in attendance with the 4 other councillors other than myself, which includes the Mayor, Councillor Brisbane, Councillor Nixon and Councillor Gordon Smith. So it certainly left a quorum and
at the time of that, I believe, Mayor, that at the time of that meeting, that Councillor Brindlecombe, well, for public's knowledge, Councillor Gordon Smith, the Mayor and Councillor Nixon were not at, there were apologies for the meeting. Councillor Brindlecombe left early to go to Love, and Clinton Adams, who's an independent member, left very early. So in my mind, that at the end of that meeting, there was not a quorum.
there were certainly 5 still there. That were a part of that committee, being 2 community members and 2 internal staff, myself. But further to that,
Well, I think the first issue is, I mean, if there's a question about there being a quorum, I mean, the minutes have got to reflect that. And I suspect that, other than that, I mean, if that can be determined that was, at the time there was a quorum present, I suppose the second part of that is that it is only an advisory group, and notwithstanding the veracity of what's contained in this report, it's the opportunity today. Councillor Ross, that actually...
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you might have to mic up.
Can't hear.
There's a lot of,
Did someone tell them to start at 10:30 or they're all good this morning?
Chelsea.
Beginning with the drill.
They'll stop as soon as we start. Well, look, so I guess I don't want the issue to be here, and certainly around this issue, I don't want it to be about just who was there at the meeting at what time. Notwithstanding that, the governance determined that we should have had a quorum at the time that meeting was called, and that was discussed. I suppose if that needs to be determined, and you're saying that there was the right number of people and the predetermined or designated people that could attend and form a quorum if they were present, then obviously it's just about the content of this report. So, not
further to that, Mr. Mayor, is that the nature of the meeting leading into that was information fed out through the normal chains of being emails for correspondence to be iterated and fed back to the advisory committee, and also following on from that, any further information that people would like to bring forward and discuss is also open to that as well. So the information that was been obtained from all committee members. There was pre and post information brought into that.
Can you hear me? Testing? No. No, that's all right. You're not. Councillors, it is a terms of reference at the end of the day. It's a guide, but if that was a technicality that council is hung up on, then most certainly you can send it back. I'd put to you, to the Mayor, that you've got 8 elected members present, and you're being asked to consider a position here. So, you know, you can debate it, and if there's either be won or lost. For clarity purposes, and I know we're jumping ahead here, but for clarity purposes, it's my understanding that this is seeking to achieve affirmation of a draft position so that there can be a confidence in going forward to the next step. So the wording where it says endorse the draft tenure framework amended and goes on across the regions where it ends, it could be prudent to add the first part of the report section as part of that resolution, which says the tenure framework consists of 2 documents, and specifically those 2 items. That provides a bit more clarity.
I think I prefer that anyway.
That it's all draft.
Just for the purposes of clarity, because the policy, I suppose, that is the most contentious, is.
Put your microphone on, Councillor.
So probably the. Carry on. Wrong button. I think that's what happens.
What have we only got 1 button, or this one's got 2 buttons? Go on. Well, you can silence.
Because I've done it before, you can silence us.
Oh, you did that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're on now, Gal.
Yeah, see, that's what happens. Wrong button, you can silence. You're back to now. It's a shame Rick showed you that button.
You got cut.
So the policy, I suppose, it's created the most contention, and even on the committee, I suppose, has been more around the water and waste water charges or emissions policy. So, and just probably to ease some councillors, particularly Councillor Ross' mind, this wasn't just discussed at the last Game Plan Advisory Committee. So even though we were absent for that, this is to arrive at this position is taking considerable effort and work. So the details have been tweaked along the way, and we've relied very heavily on people like Pete Manning and experts in the water side of things to assist. And it is just a draft, and I think the helpful part about the policy now is that there's some numbers in there that, you know, we can go and talk to the community about, well, if that's a charge, what does it mean for us? What's it look like? They can sort of see what it looks like now. So, you know, and as I said, it didn't happen overnight to arrive at this position. So whether we were there or not, there was certainly plenty of opportunity to provide quarterly feedback, and there was plenty of emails back and forth, you know, as Councillor McIndoe said prior to not just that meeting but other meetings, and that's the role of the advisory group to, you know, get to a position where we're comfortable to bring it to you guys and we've got questions. But, you know, I'm pretty comfortable with a lot of work's gone into this. To where it is a draft. It's another opportunity to engage in conversation with their communities and take feedback again. And it says we're genuine about what we're doing.
Well, look, and I'll add to that. I mean, I think, you know, I think in terms of the committee, there's been a real intent to go forward with this, and there are obviously and will be several components of this that will get greater scrutiny as we go through. And I think we've been very careful about making sure that it's never been about imposing greater costs on anyone. There's an intention in some cases, and certainly now some of the modelling is starting to show what the likely impact will be. And it will be this boardroom that will decide whether that's onerous or something we can improve on. But the purpose of this is as I understand it, and what we've witnessed and what we've attended, is to keep the process going so we get the best possible information to make the best possible result for all our clubs and communities. And I mean, I think the overwhelming majority of those clubs are keen and anxious to make sure this goes ahead, notwithstanding that or preempting any decision that this council makes. So that's where we need to get to. So that's as simple as I can make it, and I endorse Gail's reading of it. I mean, this is just the next step of, people diligently doing the checks and balances around those discussions we've had over a number of meetings. So we really need to make this go forward.
Just through the Mayor, my concern is that last time we put through a draft policy, some of the clubs were told that council had already endorsed whatever was in that policy.
Well, I guess all those things turn on a word, and the reality is that that's never been the case. And I think all the responsible people here have never said that this is LAW law. This is obviously getting to the right space. It's been this was always going to be the longest and most difficult policy we could possibly implement. It's asking people to change and consider lots of different things. But I think overwhelmingly, your community is saying to you, look, we understand why you need to do this, and it's been very supportive. And I don't want it to turn on a word, but I think the reality would be that, getting to the second round of community engagement will give us that opportunity of, making all those stories add up. If people have heard a word that's different or some implication that's different, the reality has been there's just never been anything but the intent of making sure this works. And we've always predicated this on the basis that, we can't afford to price clubs and organisations out of doing what they do. It's always been about making sure there's some equity and where we can, and we've always said this, that to make sure that we're actually spending the right amount of money on sport and recreation in all our communities and supporting them as best we can. And in this process, I mean, it's become very evident that the officers in this council that are responsible for this have been absolutely upfront and forthright about just how they're going to go and do that. So I think the clarity is there. I think the overwhelming majority of people understand that's intent. And I think it's getting to the point where they're sort of saying, well, look, we've heard what you're going to try and do. Are you still doing it? Are you still moving ahead? Are you still getting this done? And that's where we're at.
Mayor, I've got some reports. I couldn't vote to support the policies as they're being presented. Not if you're asking me as a councillor to support particularly things just like the water pricing charges, and particularly after, I suppose, us as a council having a look at a nice little sporting organisation in Emerald who at the moment is going through tremendous financial problems because of water pricing, to the extent where it's under an extreme pressure from our council. And councillors know about it and have been made fully aware of that particular council, that sporting organisation financial position that it's in. And I understand the council's response, and therefore I don't have any great confidence that council's going to do exactly what you just said, Mr. Mayor, and that is be caring or reactive in a positive way, because I've seen what we've done with that particular organisation, and that was nothing. So I don't think I have the same confidence as you, the Mayor, in regards to the way in which this council would respond to an organisation that was told their water costs are going to be $9,000 and 3 years in this road, we're going to stay you up or you're going to move you on. I also don't think that this group has had a look at one or two of the other options that have been taken by other councils, and that is going back to community and saying, what part of the sports and recreation costs are you able to pick up, or do you want to pick up? What do ratepayers think is fair and reasonable? Do ratepayers really care that we're subsidising or not subsidising the water, the mowing, the maintaining, and the whatever else of our community facilities? Because I don't think we've asked them that question. We're seem to be going on a single base where I get bailed up by people saying, well, I play cricket in a particular town, I can't play there next year. We're shifting our cricket to the next town because it's too dear, because of your game plan. I don't think that makes sense to me, that we as a council are putting community organisations and sporting groups in that particular position. So I think this needs to go back again. People need to have another look at it and start to come back to some reasonable costs and some reasonable numbers that we know aren't going to break, aren't going to completely fold some of our sporting organisations but will leave them in a reasonable position to be able to maintain their sport and recreation activity. We can currently talk to our community about what they are willing to or not willing to pick up the tab on. Because I think as ratepayers, I certainly pick the can for the footy club to make sure it doesn't pay 10 grand a bloody year for water, or the other club for doing something else. I expect that I'm able to be cross-subsidising those sorts of positions. That's why I pay rates, and I'm happy about paying my rates. So, because I want a bit of a library, and I want this and I want that. So I just think that we're probably going one step too far at this particular stage. I think there's a couple of other things we need to do. I understand exactly what we're trying to maintain or obtain through the game plan, and I think there needs to be a real shift towards consistency and all those other things. But I think by taking out this document at the moment, where people are going to go away and analyse some of those numbers that you've got in there now, in some places, particularly water, I don't think we'll find there to be much comfort out there with sport recreation organisations at all. And I'd probably even sort of say this got to the stage where I think some members of the committee who are not councillors have got to the stage of talking to councillors that they're not happy about it either. So I don't know where you have got a very harmonious and congenial arrangement here, or a continual proposal. Not far off it, but I think you've got a bit more to go, and I therefore don't think we should be, I certainly won't be supporting this, and wouldn't want the community to think that I would support these documents, going back to them at the state they're in. That's all from me.
So, I suppose the thing is that a couple of references there. I mean, the club that we're talking about is a privately owned club, and I mean, I suspect that that's different to what we're talking about here in terms of the water usage. And that's been one of the...
It's a community club, it's not a private community club.
But effectively it's a private business. And this has been one of the things, one of the results of this process is making sure that, you know, as unpalatable as some of those things are, the reality is you've got to have all of these things on the table in their finest form to get that equity that we're talking about. And I don't think it wouldn't be realistic to think that people were going out there thinking this was going to be palliative and harmonious as much as the councillors and the community always want to try and look like we're getting everything right. But it's a process that's going to take, in the fact finding and the gathering, and I take your point about, you know, clubs that haven't paid this much for water. Well, I mean, we've done those models, we've done a lot of modelling, and in most cases where we've got that right, you know, it's a process of about saying that in lots of cases that's either less or about the same, and it's about finding the real value of actually what this council's contributing to sport. And you say that, and you rightly say that, and I'm happy to pay as much sport and recreation as we could possibly have. But at the end of the day, to pass this on to our community and leave it the way it is too great a risk. And, you know, there might be some tweaking that we need to do. I'm actually saying that, and I think the committee's saying that as well. But at some point, the great danger here is that we stall and we don't go ahead. And it's not a case of because we don't want to keep offending people. I don't think that's what anyone's trying to do, and I don't believe we've done a lot of that anyway. But it's about sometimes to get to the absolute bones of what we need to sort out, and particularly those organisations that run very, very well for a long period of time, telling us don't fix what ain't broke. But the reality is, I think most of them understand the position council's trying to get to. And I think it will be, this is a build-up to a platform where we'll be able to step in and say, look, these things are too onerous, these things are too hard, these costs can't be carried, these will have a detrimental effect, and that'll give us that opportunity. But, you know, we need to get to a point where we've got to get to a point where we're actually making a decision going forward with it. And right now, I think we're captivated. That's my view. So, look, if there's some words that'll change it, I don't mind, but the reality would be it's got to be something that's actually going to be doing something, not looking like it's doing.
Mayor Hayes, I would like to mention, I'm not on the committee, and
mentioned that there has been modelling.
Microphone, that's the thing.
No, it's not.
I think it might be.
Mayor Hayes, I'm not on the committee, and you mentioned that there has been modelling done that looks at the Brisbane already. I'd be really interested in actually seeing that information before I guess make a decision on this policy as well, because figures are quite high, but I guess if they're offset by the fact that potentially clubs are already paying that or they're paying more, but I don't have that information.
Courtney, could you give a couple of examples there?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for the, sorry. it's really-
You're right. Use your microphone. If it'll work. In other words, the way when we're talking, the old swords, is it a voice activated sword?
Yes. In regards to the categorisation, that is per facility, not per club, as well, just so that is clear. But there definitely has been models done, and we've actually deconstructed every cost per facility as well. So we're actually going down to that level. We are looking at the current reasoning behind those costs as well. We're really going in depth into that. And it's an evolving process, absolutely, that we want to keep sharing with councils and community. And based on the feedback that we did receive, we did make the amendments based on those key, I guess, the constant messages that were coming back from those clubs. And which Councillor Gobbers did indicate, not the unknown. So we are trying to shape around that as well, and make sure that we can provide clubs with an approximate so that unknown isn't there, and then get that feedback from them from this to say, is this realistic? What does this look like for you guys? So that is all that information is there and available.
So I suppose the question is, is the resolution today, as Councillor Bell says, is it stretched too far if you want to see it worded differently? Or, but I suppose the point being is, and I'm labouring on it, is that people are doing a lot of work around making sure this is done in a very diligent, structured way. The terms of reference is really, really good. People and our independent directors are doing that job, and I'm not sure that I certainly haven't seen their dissent, I guess, in terms of what they're doing. I'm sure that knowing them pretty well, they would certainly wouldn't be shrinking away from making that point known to us. But it's a case of, we really need to move this forward, and it's a case of, as I said, that modelling has been done, and Councillor Daniels, you were saying you'd like to see a bit more. I think we're at that point where, you've got to trust your committee in the terms of reference at some point. Councillor Bell's saying that he's not confident. Well, I am confident that people are only going to try and make this right. And there's never been any intent otherwise, or any misleading, to my knowledge, any misleading way that we'd be saying to clubs that, we're trying to make things harder or make things not work. And it's a case of, but, to do that, to have that decision-making capability, you've got to have all the facts and figures on the table. I suspect that's there, and more than strongly suspect, I see it there, and I've asked for the examples that you just asked for. I asked for the modelling. We were given just projections and some some costs on water. Well, that's been taken another step further. There's been projections and modelling around that, and I think the reality is, in a very diligent way, this has been brought back to as a draft. I respect what Paul's saying. If you think it's a step too far, this wording that you'd like to see changed, well, sure, but it's got to be something going forward. Otherwise we're just it's going to catch up. Councillor Wall.
Also, Mayor, it says in the recommendation, the draft 10-year framework, when you go to the actual council policy, is a draft 10-year council-owned and controlled land to sporting and active recreation organisations policy. And at the bottom of that policy is all about establishment of a new sport and active recreation committee. Is that part of what the community? Yeah, is that to go to the community as well?
I think
now within this 10-year framework.
Might have the chair respond.
under the terms of reference, it was always indicated that this advisory committee would stand aside after a 2-year time frame, and that the sport and rec or the game plan would then be conducted within our establishment from there on. So we've taken that on board, and in the recommendations there, that's the way it happened. I think from memory, the 14th of August 2019, will be a changeover date.
But fundamentally, it was, as an oversight to this, certainly this policy, and the game plan became endorsed as part of our operations at that opportunity. Same as the sale yards or the other things around those sorts of.
Sorry, but the governance of this is empty. The tenure, you're asking for a draft tenure framework to go to the community. At the meeting the other day, the game plan meeting, there was actually a draft tenure document. Is that going to the committees, to the community? Okay.
There's 2 documents.
So, also with that, just as added to that, there was discussion around the fees that communities would have to, if they wanted, organisations wanted to view this draft tenure document, and they would have to, or they had the ability then to go and get their own legal advice on this. That's another cost there, and that's not in here. I can't see where that's written in here. So King and Co have been through the tenure document, but it will be other sporting organisations will have to go through a legal process to view this tenure as well.
Well, I think there's obviously an opportunity. I know King and Company are actually doing or refining that proposal, so it's probably more of a usable document. But you're right. I mean, the clubs will have to assess that, I guess, on the other end of that. So, at some point though, it's a case of to get the benefits, you've got to be prepared to actually to do some of this work, and this changeover, this transition, can be a little bit lumpy. And I think we've got to expect that, a reasonable expectation would be that, once we have an agreement, that can hopefully be something we can go forward with, they can have a look at it.
It's very difficult, you talk about the governance just in that one case there where, it's wrong for us to pay for that. We can't have that conflict and pay for it on their behalf. We can't ask them to use the same solicitors, but, it's got to be done. They're not obligated to go to a solicitor, but if I was a member or an executive of a club, I certainly would like someone to view it. And yes, I know you say it's a cost. But what is their benefit from gaining these things? Now, are you saying that you don't want the tenure framework here? Because we were established under a terms of reference endorsed unanimously by this council to go forward under the terms of reference and bring back what the terms of reference outline. We're doing that. We're continually working within those terms of reference. We're asking today not for endorsement of the policies, but endorse what is there in the draft policy and allow us to continue to go forward and have further consultation to see where we're at in the marketplace under the terms again, conduct research and evaluation to determine industry standards and best practice principles to identify possible solutions that can be tested in consultation firstly with councillors, i.e. in that meeting, then with the Central Highlands regional community. All we're asking for is, are you happy enough for us to go forward with what we've undertaken to date and what we've modelled to date? Will you endorse that as a draft so that we then can go and see where the community is at under those parameters? And if the community is still not happy with it, well, we're going to have to remodel and reevaluate, and then come back at the request of this council to put forward a recommendation following consultation. And we're now 3 months behind schedule. We just wish for what we're asking for. We're not asking any money from clubs today. We're just asking ourselves to follow the terms of reference and go forward.
Just, number 4 there, the policy statement about setting up a new committee, that shouldn't actually be in a tenure document of the code of meeting.
Sorry, Councillor.
It should be a separate.
You're saying in which?
Number 4, policy about principals and active recreation committee. That's nothing to do with the tenure of the council only.
Oh, sorry, I'm not with you. What am I?
So what Councillor Nixon's referring to is under the current game plan advisory committee holding power, I guess, in these negotiations, halfway through the first, or some period through the first tenure agreement, there will be a change of who they deal with, going from game plan over to the other, and we say it shouldn't be in there.
It should be in the tenure document, because the tenure is with the land,
That's
over the land, not the committee.
I can't answer that, whether it should be or shouldn't be. I would imagine King and Co would put it in there purely for the fact that we are changing who they're dealing
But
with.
that's completely different to the tenure document.
Yeah, happy to leave that out, if that's what, I mean, I'm not, but I mean, I don't have.
You have to, I think that's a decision outside of the tenure document.
I think it's relevant to the tenure though, because the committee is a very important part of being that point of contact for sport and recreational clubs and communities and organisations going forward. So it's got to be recognised somewhere. So where do you put it if you don't put it in the tenure policy?
Well, you wouldn't put it in the tenure document because the
It
tenure.
has its own terms of reference though, separate to this. It just talks about the role of the committee within the policy document.
My opinion.
All right, well, councillors, I think, is there any more questions for you? I think it's going to be difficult, I think, to vary the recommendation that's here today. I'd rather, if it could be, if there's some words that offended people or the intent of that wasn't right, that we adjust it so that there's a chance of it actually adopting something here today. And if there's not, I would really hope to see us, come up with a resolution and have a motion lost and then not move forward with this or storm it. So, I mean, what is someone happy to put this resolution as it is, or would you like some changes to it? That's what I'm saying.
I'd like to see it changed.
Well, I guess.
Mayor, could the resolution be that the advisory committee, but it's not the advisory committee, it's the.
It is advisory.
It is the advisory committee go back to consultation with the clubs.
And active recreation
Prior to this.
organisations.
Sorry, say that again. So what you're
The
saying?
Central Highlands Regional Council allow the Game Plan Advisory Committee to commence the second round of community engagement through meetings, blah, blah, blah.
So what are we going to with?
You've got to go with.
You've got to give us something to go with. It says that in the terms of reference. We've got to come back and consult and go forward. What are you going to give us to go forward and discuss?
A lot to go forward with.
What haven't we got? What would you like in there?
Yeah, look, councillors, I'm afraid that the concerns aren't reflective of the recommendation. I think the recommendation is by itself is asking for a very simple mandate to go forward. And I guess, to be quite frank with you, if we can't get past here, then we're going to have to do a little bit of a report. So, is someone happy to put the recommendation? It's been moved by Councillor Godwin-Smith and seconded by Councillor Brindlecombe. And that is that, as it stands here, that the Central Highlands Regional Council endorsed that draft tenure framework amended to allow the Game Plan Advisory Committee to commence the second round of community engagement through meetings with sport and active recreation organisations across the region. Mover and a seconder. So those in favour? Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm actually going to vote to go forward, so. I'll
Can I have my vote recorded, please?
Me too, please.
So, sorry, we'll record those votes. Councillor Bell, Councillor Nixon, Councillor Roll, and Councillor Daniels. Want to
I have
record
my
their vote
vote
against that?
recorded against this.
Against the motion.
That,
All four? Yeah, all four.
Yes.
All four. Right, thank you, councillors. All right. I'm looking forward to a break outside now. So council, that's the next agenda item, which is item 13.2, which is the request to extend the relevant period. So I'll ask Deputy Gale to take the chair while I leave the room.
Thank you. Chair Hayes. All right, so we've got him out of earshot. All right, councillors, item 13.2, the request to extend the relevant period on 229 Big John Road, Emerald. I'll hand over to Sarah Toronto, or person doing the introduction there. Thank you.
So this application was brought towards council to seek approval for an extension to the relevant period of a development application for a reconfiguring lot at Big John Road and Emerald. When the application was approved, a relevant period of 2 years was attached to the original approval. Through negotiations, this was extended to 4 years. This relevant period expired on the 20th of March 2018, and the applicant lodged a request to extend the relevant period on the 27th of February. So I'll hand over to Sarah, who will be able to discuss the planning provisions and the officer's recommendation today.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The original application was approved in 2014 with a relevant period, as Chris has said, 4 years. It involves reconfiguring a lot 1-3 in the rural living precinct of the rural zone under the now superseded Emerald Shire planning scheme. Conditions of approval included the construction of driveway crossings to each additional lot and a new driveway for the full length of the subdivision. The road stand was a gravel pavement with a 3 metre wide sprayed bitumen 2 coats of seal. With this requirement for operational work, the proposal was given 4 years. The rural living precinct was introduced in the 2007 Emerald planning scheme, covering the lots fronting Big John Road, just south of Emerald. With a minimum of 8 hectares, this area was the identified precinct for hobby farm type development. This application was approved under these conditions. It was assessed at the impact level because the proposed lots were under the 8 hectare minimum. The current planning scheme does not have a rural living precinct. Instead, this area has now been considered within the broader rural zone where the minimum lot size is 2,000 hectares. The land is classified as Class A, and Council's previous direction has been to preserve good quality agricultural land for farming purposes and avoid fragmentation. It's therefore not compliant with the current planning scheme, and this is why the extension is not supported from a planning perspective today.
Can I ask a question, please, through the acting chair? Can you hear me? Oh, there's no voice now. It's ironic, isn't it? You might recall, Sarah, you will for sure, December 13, 2016, we considered the matter of the Cyclinker extension, and there was a fairly rich debate there around the original intentions for establishment of those smaller blocks out there, and what you just said explains how we've changed our focus somewhat, and that was also around our position on whether or not we should grant the extension.
That's right.
We talked about Mr. Cyclinger and his contribution to the Emerald community, and the decision was ultimately made to not do that. And I guess the question through the acting chair is there a need if this issue presents itself other times, maybe there's a need for us to provide better clarity to some of the landholders out there if they are operating or if they have some existing approvals. I'm not too sure if there's many there at the moment, but maybe there's a way for us to deal with this in a cleaner and clearer weigh if there is going to be, future requests for extensions, or if there's a number of, applications that haven't been acted upon.
There's not a lot. A lot of them remain in the 21 hectares. Some of them you can see, they range between 7, 13, 9, 11, 8. Those ones have been, so they cannot be subdivided even under the rural precinct. I guess it came in with the change in the planning scheme. We don't have that precinct anymore. It's considered rural. I guess if you think there is a need for such a precinct somewhere within our shire, then perhaps we should consider it.
Councillors, any thoughts or queries, comments?
No.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think, through the acting chair, that I suppose the horse is bolted in some respects because of what's there. That doesn't mean that it may not change in the future. You never know what could happen. People might amalgamate blocks and increase size. It's hard to know, but it almost seems as though areas like Big John Road, Culper Road, there is there's that lifestyle block happening there already. So.
That's why it was chosen as a precinct in 2005.
Yeah, so I think the answer is going to be pretty clear, but through the acting chair, that council has a prerogative if it wants to revisit some of those bi-level implications of its planning instrument. Obviously now's not the right time. You've got a decision before you now that you need to deal with, but the door is always open to have those other discussions around that strategic intent for certain areas, within our jurisdiction. Just because they're not adequately, represented in the current instrument doesn't mean that it can't be revisited if that's the will of the council. But given that ag is so high on our strategic list of priorities, it's understandable why the current instrument says what it says. So it's a challenge, but it's the balls in council's court should wish to do something in that regard. Our officers have no choice but to write a report like this with a recommendation like this.
So through the acting chair, how long would it take to make a change if we want to make a change to the Planning Act, I suppose, is it? To our planning scheme, to do something like what we did. So you would create a precinct. I think that's the best way, the way we did it before. The only thing that changed in the rural zone in the precinct was your minimum lot size. Basically, you're rural. You've got no services, you're just rural living blocks. To change it, I guess we can, commission another study. Kirsten, I guess we look at the whole shire and find where this would suit. I think last time we did it, we looked at a number of different things, 30 kilometres or 30 minutes. We got that from emergency services. If you're going to put more people in a traditionally unpopulated place, that's the distance that they would like to be to get there. We looked at places that were already quite fragmented. Good quality agricultural land. Actually, in the last planning scheme, this was class C1. This planning scheme is A, so they've changed it. A good road, close to a good road, things like that were considered, and that's why Big John Road came out on top.
And through you, Acting Chair, if we can just extend on that, following the decision that was made in terms of seeking commodities and agribusiness, I guess the discrepancy between this scheme and what it is that council policy seems to want to take. We're moving ahead our amendment schedule to do these planning studies, to do a review of the zonings for the scheme, so that situations like this, while if they applied once we have the new scheme in place, they'd have to do a new application because their request to extend it will be refused if that's the council's point of view at this stage in terms of the planning scheme. So it's not the end of the line for people like these who have these properties, but we need to have the facts in place from planning schemes or planning studies to, I guess, give us some assurance about the zoning and things like that in areas where we may have to create a precinct in the future.
And just out of curiosity, this applicant would have been aware of the changes to the planning scheme along the way. I mean, we've gone to public consultation about the changes, so there should have been, knowing that if the applicant allowed this to lapse, there's a very good chance it's not going to be supported, like in terms of extension. So it's just disappointing that there's no activity undertaken at all in that time.
It's unfortunate that the press and commence building works at least.
So there's just nothing. I mean, Yeah.
And they have a private town planner consultancy working for them as well too, who would have been able to provide advice. If they called us, we would have been able to give them advice about the current zoning of it as well too. So it's unfortunate, but I guess people lodge applications to test their luck.
Yeah. So councillors, the recommendation, is there any more questions? The recommendation is for refusal. There's no further questions in relation to this application. Is someone willing to move? Move Councillor Roll, seconded, anyone? Councillor Nixon, all in favour? Nothing for that one? Carried. Unanimous. Thank you so much, Beverly and Sarah and Kirsten for helping us out with that one.
Kyle, just grab the meeting, Councillor Gordon Smith.
I just say, we could have a look at that. The bigger thinking about where we're going with.
Yeah. Just why we mentioned it.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but just do it strategically. Let's don't.
We can't just be doing these things come up so many times now.
Can't ignore it.
Well, so we haven't worked the payments too much, have we? They're all right? You good? All right, councillors, 13.3, which is code point provider amendment, which is the industrial subdivision of Wilkes Road. Person, you're going to lead us through this, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as you're aware, a report was tabled at the Strategy and Briefing Forum on the 9th of April in relation to this matter. So, a code accessible development application was lodged over land at Wills Road, Emerald, described as Lot 100, SB 291963. The application proposes to subdivide a large allotment into 22 industrial titles to create an extension to the existing industrial estate. The proposed plan of development does not consider the proposed link road corridor that has been advanced in the Council's economic development initiatives. So this report seeks a resolution to acquire a portion of the land to secure a 45-metre corridor to facilitate the alignment and road corridor width of the proposed link road, previously supported by planning for the Emerald Heavy Vehicle Bypass by the Department of Transport and Main Roads. So the officer's recommendation today is that Central Highlands Regional Council agreed to acquire approximately 37,000 square metres of land required for a 45-metre road corridor along the southern boundary of Lot 100 at a value of $12.50 per square metre plus GST to secure the land for the proposed link road. And further, that the Central Highlands Regional Council formally write to the owner to make an offer based on $12.50 per square metre plus GST. So from the discussion that was held previously, there is a rationale for a future heavy vehicle bypass for Emerald. This was identified in the Emerald Road Network study of 1992. The bypass was considered the optimum long-term solution to diverting heavy vehicles from the commercial centre of town. A report was prepared for the Department of Transport and Main Roads in February, which reaffirmed this route. So Gerard might be able to talk to some of the elements of the road.
Through the chair, councillors, the link road, as we currently call it, is one of our economic development initiatives we've been working on, and in essence, all we're trying to do here, since we don't have a planning instrument, we are endeavouring to, through negotiation with the landowner, retain and secure that corridor for future use, and it is basically what we're seeking council to endorse, is the support for acquiring that land to preserve that corridor for the long-term development of that link road. The original report we need a much higher value on, but basically the figure we've got now is reflected in our financial section of the report.
And that's based on an independent valuation that was commissioned.
So what's that, about 4.6?
462,000.
All right, councillors, well, let's see. That was, and I thought, if I can recall the strategy discussion, was really about, well, two things that I'd certainly like to have eliminated from my today's consideration is that is there another alternative route that can be again around the place, other than through there? If that's not the case.
Through the Mayor, Councillor, the planning that DTMR did was obviously based on cost and efficiency and flood immunity. We have not had the time or the luxury to investigate alternate routes. From a heavy vehicle bypass route, we still believe that that alignment is probably your most cost-effective alignment. If you did go further north, there's significant more cost and land acquisition involved. So in this instance, we still believe the regional planning should hold in terms of the ideal or the recommended alignment.
Just a question, and only because I don't really understand how this works, but if DTMR did the planning for a heavy vehicle bypass, like what happens in places like, you know, inner city Sydney or Brisbane or anywhere? Like, do local governments buy the land for them to do the development? Is it normal for councils to be proactive in this regard and like buy the land and then bank it? It's just that it's quite a lot of money.
In this particular circumstance, through the Mayor, there's not really another option. TMR had it on their books for a long time. It was only in the last term of council when we actually followed up on some ratepayer concerns around their inability to access or have an access on the other council roads. So if you have a look at the footprint of the entire bypass, just to I won't mention the particular people, but there was, and this isn't the term, but there was like a caveat in place that prohibited landowners from having another alternate access to their site. So that was all lifted in the last term of council. So it's as if that never happened. It's a piece of history now. So there's no TMR interest.
No, that's right.
Yeah, at all. So, it's really only, it's really up to CHRC. It holds a vision that this is an important piece of land for a variety of reasons. Then it needs to make this investment and then perhaps negotiate in the future with TMR for them to consider this becoming part of their network. They may not want to have a bar of it. It may be that actual link, part of that link may be the responsibility of council if we're not successful in having them take it over. So it's a difficult situation we're in. It really comes down to, does that, you're in an interesting situation where you can't really influence that price much. So is the vision, the long-term vision for the benefit of this link worth that price tag? If so, support the recommendation. If you don't hold that vision and you don't think it's worth that, well then you vote it down.
So we have Wills Road there where there's heavy refuelling for heavy vehicles on that road. The existing corridor potentially up the side of the railway line, or if we were successful in relocating the line out of this community, utilising that corridor for other road infrastructure, and that would take it past existing facilities. Because what could potentially be happening here is they'll turn onto the highway, then turn off the highway to go up Wills Road, but we could actually direct them up the corridor and straight down past these refuelling facilities for no real further, probably a couple hundred metres further in distance. We're not creating another corridor right next to a flood or water course and getting it onto existing infrastructure. So there may, to me, there's potential for an alternative route. It's not too far out of what we've already determined that we already maintain, and should the link, the remainder of the link road never get up and running, we haven't really lost a lot. We're creating that opportunity still for the west and north corridor or the northwest corridor. I just see that are we jumping the gun here in light of what Gerard's saying is we haven't had time to look at potentially other things, so I don't know.
Through the Chair, Councillors, what we have to understand, what we're looking at, what we call an arterial road function here. And arterial road function is a highway standard road that takes traffic out of business, direct property accesses are restricted or preferred not to have direct access, limited road interface, or intersection. So really, in terms of the regional planning, that route was selected to minimise. I think there was probably only 1 or 2 road connections between Tyson Road and Gregory Highway up at Moffat. So the intent of the arterial bypass route is not to have direct property access. So if you apply that transport planning philosophy, the Wills Road has got direct property frontage. It doesn't gel. We could then also consider going through the middle of that subdivision if we were that way inclined. But the thing is that diminishes our likelihood of getting state government involved. They would not be interested in building local roads with direct property access or owning them. They try and, if they could get rid of Hospital Road or Gregory Highway through town and or Claremont Street, per se, money aside, they would probably prefer it from a highway arterial function point of view. So that's one of the reasons why Wills Road may sound like a good idea. The flip side of Wills Road is also that there is property resumption required, because to get type 2, ultimately type 2 road trains through that route, you have to create a significant vehicle or resume land to come up that corridor and swing straight back to the east. So that's just 2 points. But in terms of arterial function, you're looking at restricting direct property frontage, restricting the number of road intersections. And that is the purpose of creating a freight efficient corridor. So I'm not trying to divorce your argument. If it becomes a local road, government road, we can do whatever we want. If we want state government to invest in our arterial freight route, we need to keep that in mind. If we pick another alignment that touches Wills Road, then it will definitely not, it will go down in terms of DTMR's willingness to talk. They said, why would we give up Gospel Road with direct frontage to develop another road, including Wills Road? So I'm just putting that out there as food for thought from a planning perspective.
Just in relation to the financial implications, you say there are financial implications for acquiring a land parcel, 37,000 metres square. How are we paying for it? It says there's implications, but it doesn't say what the implications are other than the cost.
So yeah, Mr. Mayor, that would be a budget request in the 2018-19 budget. Deputy Mayor?
We could relate terms of settlement possibly.
Will that be in our list of projects going forward? Yeah.
Sorry.
Will that be in our list of projects to be considered at the next meeting?
I think through the mayor, there's some time pressures here, because we're outside of the IDAS time frames, and if you were going to do this, you would need to swiftly or let the opportunity go, and that's my understanding. So regarding those budgetary implications, they're real. I would imagine that they probably have to be realised this financial year, which would require a budgetary amendment. I don't know if we could push it out until early next financial year, but that could be an option as well. But either way, it's something council would have to make room for, which means not doing something that's in the budget this year, or recognising a capital project that council's funding that is behind schedule. So relinquishing that in order to make room for this expenditure.
Through the chair, Councillor, the Link Road is one of our projects on the list, so there is still planning design happening in the background regarding the Link Road.
It's one of the economic development incentive projects.
So it is one of our economic development projects that's currently being worked on.
Advocated.
Yeah, and the other connection, councillors, too, you may recall around the time we made the momentous decision in relation to the flood levies for the Earmore community in April 2017, we talked about the hydraulic function that a road embankment in this location could provide by conveying water and help alleviate some of the overland flooding by not building levies. And that was, again, this is just an idea, but you can't progress anything unless you have some form of tenure. But there was a school of thought around that. It could be designed for a dual purpose, so elevated road corridor plus conveying water.
There's only in that one.
That's right.
Place.
Yeah. So there was that potential, and Marty just found that resolution for me from the levy business case, and I do believe that there was reference made to it in there. I'm grateful for that, Mr. Mayor.
And I suppose there are 2 pointer, I think, and I know Councillor Sock is not here today, but I mean, there was questions around, you know, the fact that DTMR had dropped it as, in a very untimely fashion, it dropped it, but I mean, the reality is that has never been a predicator of some of the economic development stuff we've done, probably over the time that they've insisted we put it in since about 1990, whatever it was. The reality is there's probably never been a more, probably reason why they should have retained it, as right now they've actually upgraded the Gregory Highway near the Type 2 road train route, and it would seem that if you know, the likelihood of certainly the road to the west, there's a Capricorn Highway study that DTMR have done. We saw through Discovery with the Vince Lester Bridge SARS that you know, at some point of time a connection from the Capricorn Highway across the Gregory Highway, and there are just very few corridors. Anyway, when you deviate away from, you know, some sort of corridor through here, I'm not disputing it, you know, what you said, Councillor McIntyre, but if there's not, you know, then it's very problematic. It becomes very expensive to go around through farms and further up or the outside of corridors, and there was just a chance of incorporating that. I suppose the only other thing I wanted to raise was, you know, I mean, whether you do some sort of contra arrangement with the headworks and arrangements with the subdivision, rather than actually look at having to find it in budget to procure the land. That I don't want to further complicate it, but you know, you've got headworks contributions and other things that might be, I guess you'd say, some sort of consideration against you know, providing the route through there. But you know, I guess Australia out purchase might be more.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, straight out purchase would be the cleaner option, just because of, in terms of the development, say council resolves to acquire the land, it might take them some time to renegotiate the lots on their parcel and redesign that, resubmit an application that has to go through due process again. So that would completely blow the timeframes out in that respect. And the applicants have been very cooperative with us after we gave them an update after the strategy session that we were going to discuss it with them. So they've been patient with us to get to this point in terms of the valuation and seeking the resolution from yourselves today. So I can only advise that it's a very opportune time to secure this land for the bypass road, but we can answer any questions if you have any.
I can't support it.
No,
I mean, I brought this was the mayor we brought this bypass in 1992. You have a lot of congestion around Moffat Road, Wills Road, and now you're going to put another intersection in there of heavy traffic. It's absolute nonsense. You know, the developers that we're talking to, and I know their position on this, but the developers we're talking to at the moment have only just negotiated away traffic lights at Wills Road intersection of highway. Now you're talking about putting another bloody intersection in on the highway, about a couple hundred metres down the road. This is gone. It's old and it's worn out, and it's something we should not be looking at. We should be either going further up the hill or going somewhere else, but away from the development that's there at the moment. There's just, you know, this is just now causing, that will cause tremendous, I think, you know, congestion and all sorts of planning problems at that intersection if you drive on the highway. And I think, you know, I think that we're talking about spending that sort of money to gain a piece of land, which we're going to have to continue to maintain and whatever forever, because I don't think this thing's ever going to go where you're talking about going now. It's a considerable amount of money, 400 grand, particularly after we just talked about what we want to skim the top off the reports to us and others around the place to save money. But, you know, I just think that you're looking at, you know, considerable investment for something that I just don't think is going to be able to be achieved. And if you tried to design it, I would like to someone give me the bloody price of the access, of the highway access, and what you're going to build on that freeway intersection. It looks something like it's outside the Brisbane Airport. the more licorice and bloody high rise and overflies and underflies and underpasses than, you know, I said, the main street of bloody Sydney. So I just think you know, it's an old bypass, it's an old route, but the whole community is moved on. And I just think we're just, you know, chasing something that's moved past used by. I understand the developers are very, very supportive in this and quite considered, and is happy for this to move forward. I also know that the last time we talked about this, I said that there was a road internal to their subdivision that linked onto this access road, if ever parts or links of it were built, and therefore the traffic could go internally to their subdivision. Someone made the comment that that wasn't being designed for road 2 type 2 road trains. But my understanding from the developer was that we've asked them to build that road for type 2 road trains. So my understanding is that link road, which is going to go back out through onto Wills Road, can take those sort of vehicles. So I just don't even understand what we're trying to really do here, and what we're trying to achieve by having, you know, a bit of the drain. So it just seems to me to be a waste.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can add some clarity about the intersection. So we got advice from the Infrastructure and Utilities team about the spacing of intersections and whether TMR would support something with that distance between the bypass and Wills Road. So that distance is approximately 200 metres. So in comparison, the spacing between the Gregory Highway and Codamora Road has always been 116 metres, and that was in the full signal. So there is opportunity that there is no risk in terms of the spacing that you're suggesting there, Councillor Bell, as being an issue, because there's existing intersections within the
So we haven't got conflicts at Pollock Farm Road, airport access. I just don't understand now. There in town there seems to be some conflicts. But on this side of town, could you do this? There won't be. Is there some problems with access to the airport and Pollock Farm Road and their access across? And we've been talking about spending a lot of money on fixing all that up. Oh, we've got a problem there that we haven't got over there. I understand what you're saying there.
I think, through the mayor, look, in terms of having the rigour around or having a business case for the benefits, we're not there. It's one of those things. It is a last minute opportunity. If you don't have the confidence, don't support it. If you do have the confidence, support it. And you know, the reality will be known in time once we know a bit more about things like a proposed Meatworks operator, the benefits of having take some of the trucks, alleviating the pressures on the BP corner. We don't have a nice report that quantifies the benefits from something like this longer term. You are being asked to use your instincts and take a gamble on something because you don't have much time. If you're not comfortable with it, you let it go. That's as simple as it is, but we don't have time to play with it. I can't come back to you with an elaborate report to give you all the information you need to give you the ease to make the decision. All we have to go on is, and I can only speak on, it's the last 5.5, 6 years of the ideal around it. And I take Councillor Bell's point, yes, it is old, it is dead. TMR have torn it up, but that particular component could have some benefit to us. Our staff have tried to negotiate an outcome, and as has been pointed out, the developer's been compliant and cooperative. We all know as much as each other here.
The difficulty I have with this one is I don't mind future looking at stuff. If we don't use it, we don't have any road access to that 45-metre corridor. You don't have any real chance of on-selling. It's restricted unless those that we're subdividing now then extended and repurchase those parcels and, you know, back onto it. So they're the concerns I have is, if we, due to the lack of time that we have, down the track in another 10 years and we realise that we don't need it because rail corridors open up or whatever, and we don't need this parcel, and what do we then do? Totally support it. If this is supported, we buy it outright. negotiations in contrast. Because if should we ever want to sell it, where does that money then go, into what area? So I certainly support, if it is supported by the outright, but as I said, I too also have concerns, is it dead, is it been spent, because it's been spoken about for a long time.
Yeah, fair point. I know Councillor Rolfe wants to ask a question, Mr. Mayor, just in response to Councillor Matt through you. It is asking you to take a risk, and you know, I suppose it's not too dissimilar to buying parcels of land that have a potential future use to the organisation. It's not always known through clear strategy as to whether that use will be realised. Some of it is speculative. You've given me a direction as your CEO to have a look at our land bank, and you've asked me to prune off things that we may not need, but we don't think we need, but a future council might think differently, and we will do that. We'll turn some of those things over to the market. You've also tasked me with the responsibility of making some selective purchases around blocks that could have some, you know, current or potential future benefit. So it's not too dissimilar to that. That's it. I can't really say too much more, Mr. Mayor. It's really up to council what they want to do.
Well, I'm happy to move it from, oh, sorry, Councillor Rolfe.
Gerard, can you tell me, Gerard, where the Type 2 road trade route actually ends?
Through the Chair, Councillor, at this stage, the Type 2 road train aspirationally is from the north, doesn't go all the way to the trucks. Doesn't go all the way down to the truck breakdown on top of the hill, but it's not being declared as such, so DTM will still have to go through the rigor. So at this stage, yes, it's only up to that point, but the argument is, if they did want to extend it onto this route, it's another exercise that has to be gone through.
And the western corridor?
That has been buried even from our point of view because of the fact that the mere cost of that bridge crossing downstream of Kandawara would be quite extensive.
On the western side, not the eastern side.
Western, sorry, east.
So the Type 2 road train finishes at Telford.
At this stage, they're doing a corridor strategy, plain strategy. We haven't seen the outcome of it yet.
I suppose just to add value to that comment, Gerard made through the mayor, it's that it's a heavy vehicle traffic. Nonetheless, there's a potential benefit there. You may got to spend a little bit of time at the intersection of Gregory and Capricorn to have an appreciation for the volume of truck traffic. So, again, these are things that I suppose we have an anecdotal knowledge of, but again, no concrete report, so we just have to leave it there.
So I'm happy to move from the chair here to at least get it started, someone to consider the resolution. So, does council ask all the questions I want to ask? I guess it is what it is.
I'll ask another question. Gerard, you mentioned on Wills Road, you've got quite a few properties along that Wills Road, that section. Wouldn't that be a better option if you had that as a corridor, as opposed to going down the Capricorn Highway all the way down to Capricorn Highway?
Through the Chair, Councillor, the definition of arterial function, that is really what we're looking at here. We're looking at a route that in state government language as well as transport planning language imply that we want a route for freight efficient vehicles with as little possible interference on the way through. So I'm not sure having direct frontage on Wills Road is contradictory to the intent of the arterial road function.
All right. Good. Councillor, I'm happy to move it. I'll just move the resolution as it is. And if someone could second, then we can at least consider. So moved by the chair, seconded by Councillor Brimblecombe. That's appropriate. It is CEO. All those in favour? Against? 16. Lost. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Thanks, Councillor Brimblecombe. All right. And thank you, planners, thank you, Kirsten, for that work, and thank you, Sarah, and
Wayne will talk us through.
So the development application update, which is on page 66. All right, Stephanie, you're going to lead off there, I take it. No? Yes, Kirsten, sorry.
Sure, through you, Mr. Mayor, so I'll just introduce Stephanie and the team for this report. So this is the monthly DA report where we give you an update. You might remember from last month we had 2 approvals that were issued. This month we have 12. So as we discussed last month, sometimes there are ebbs and flows in the development application process. So I'll hand over to Stephanie who can run through the report with you.
Thanks, Kirsten.
So in this report, as at the 25th of April 2018, we had 32 applications in the system. As we've outlined in figure 1, which shows what types of applications we had. We had reconfiguring a lot applications, community facilities, which was the emergency services infrastructure application. We had an application for a warehouse, building works accessible against the planning scheme, so the BWAP applications, a plan ceiling application, and extensions to the current agreements, which included, well, some of those minor changes as well, that changed the conditions of the approval. Of those 32, 7 of them triggered impact assessment, therefore public notification is required. 14 triggered the code assessment. There were 11 applications involving change or extensions to existing approvals. Since the last update that we presented to council, the planning team have decided 12 applications, which is a bit of a higher number than last time. We at that stage had a lot that were ready to be decided, so we've come through this with a lot of the extension applications, which is fantastic. So it's one of the best reporting periods we've had yet. Of those 12, 1 was for a refusal and 11 applications were approved. From those approvals, those 11, 1 was for reconfiguring a lot, 2 were material change of use, 1 for a tourist park extension, 1 for a feeder lot extension, 7 were extensions to currency periods, and 2 building works accessible down to planning schemes for oversized domestic sheds. The figures showing the application numbers on a monthly basis, which is in figure 2. You can see in there, just to sort of point a few things out, that the April number doesn't actually show us 12, because 3 of the applications that are in this reporting period, which is from 25th of March through the 25th of April, were actually decided in March. So it's a good period, but we're just slightly off on our reporting schedules.
And then the list follows of those applications.
It does.
Yes, definitely. So any questions, councillors, on any of those? Is an update? Yes, Councillor Gulliver.
Just application 10 and 11 are on the same property. Why is that? 36 Pilot Farm Road.
Yes, they are, there were 2 that came in for a different section of, or different section of that water.
Is it, sorry, 10 and 11?
Yeah, there's two applications, for both for each of 6 lots each.
Yeah, 6. All right.
Can I please ask about oversized domestic sheds?
Say that again fast. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
Within the dwelling house code, there is actually a limit of what size sheds they can have if you go on property, and if they go above that, they do have to apply for a building works against a planning scheme.
Yeah, so it's a policy that we had, and it was big sheds on residential land that often turns into a compliance issue when they're doing things in the shed that they probably shouldn't be, I guess, or more of an industrial use than residential use. So they have a bigger block like rural residential. We'll certainly look if it's a bit oversized. I mean, people have got caravans and boats and things that they like to keep out of the weather. We'll certainly look, but we do look at the amenity and site cover in particular.
Okay. That's fine.
Sarah, can I ask a question? Is wood chopping on the code anywhere? Permissible use in the rural residential area? But certainly, and that's the other thing is too, with the with compliance is that, you get private certifiers, and I think, there can be some interesting issues. Right, councillors, any other questions on those? No, thank you very much. All right, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Stephanie, and thank you, Chris. All right, councillors, that takes us to page 79 of your agendas, which is the outcome of the audit committee of the 30th of April. I'll hand over to GM Jason Bradshaw, might just lead us into that. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There'll be a tripartite approach to this afternoon between myself, Cale, and the CEO, reporting back on the outcomes of the audit committee on the 30th of April. Certainly, I'll refer to the CEO to start that conversation. What's different this time in terms of the presentation of that report to council is there are a number of actions that are required to flow as a result of the audit committee meeting. Those will require council resolution as such. Items such as amending the charter for the group, the extension of the internal audit services contract are two examples of that, and I'll have Cale talk to those parts of the recommendation that is for council. But in terms of the deferral, we have to follow the lead of the CEO in praising the outcomes of that committee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Bradshaw. And I do commend both Mr. Bendel and Mr. Bradshaw on this fresh new approach. You'll be happy to know, councillors, that upon the suggestion from the last time I delivered a précis, I did look up the word précis in the dictionary, and it is actually supposed to be brief. I think what I was providing was more of a discourse. So here I go with my brief précis. So, as mentioned, the Audit Committee met on April 30, 2018, faced with a heavy agenda and made solid progress in dealing with all set agenda items. Internal audit consulting project findings were considered for customer requests and complaints management processes. This project provided timely insight into the new customer software available in the Technology One software solution being implemented through the Turn On Technology One project. Essentially, Council has sound customer management systems and processes. The challenge identified was for the organisation to improve its commitment and collective utilisation of those systems and processes in order to improve its overall credibility. That's the system's credibility. Minor amendments were made to the internal audit charter. New audit focus areas were identified. These include project governance, basically an end-to-end review, and inventory management practices. Other areas will be recommended by the executive leadership team to the next audit committee meeting. The committee heard feedback from the recent workplace health and safety audit, which was very positive. And the committee meets again in June, where it will consider findings from the Capital Works Program Development and Reporting Audit and the Water Management Practices Audit. Proceed concluded.
In order to add some further detail to that, Mr. Mayor, I might ask Tony to briefly outline those items that require action and for which resolution has been sought from council today by means of closing out those issues from the audit committee, noting that the minutes are there for councillors to review as well. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Jason. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and councillors. We're a
pull it in a bit.
Like the old karaoke days.
Tonight. As the CEO pointed out, there was a series of business transacted, a number of which resulted in recommendations from the audit committee to council. And if I just briefly draw council's attention to that, as the CEO mentioned, the final report on the customer requests and complaints management internal audit was presented. There's a series of recommendations in there for business improvement and the integration with the transition to the new Technology One software. So there's recommendations related to that particular project. The revised internal audit charter and also the audit committee charter were both revised and require attention by the they are in fact council policies for want of a better term. So whilst the audit committee is effectively the custodian of those things, they still are council policy documents and require imprimatur of the council. The CEO outlined the audit committee's proposed program for 2018-19, and the intention is to seek the internal audit firm to provide proposals on those, and that will be considered further by the ELT and for ultimate recommendation to the council for determination. As was requested at a meeting last month, the audit committee also reviewed the insurance portfolio and provided some advice back to council there. You'll see in recommendation 4 that it's not to determine a final position today, but simply to note the audit committee's recommendations to discontinue some policies, reduce the scope of some others, do some further work on a number of remaining policies. So simply consideration of that matter today, and that will be presented formally to council again for finalisation. So that doesn't need to be determined today. And extension of the arrangements with the firm Pacifica to extend into their 3rd year as internal audit firm for Central Highlands Regional Council. They are the 6 recommendations that are made by the audit committee. I'm happy to answer any questions, or indeed those members of the audit committee may wish to do so.
Councillor Nixon, yep.
Through the mayor, one query about number 5 there. Pacifica, they've been there for a long time. Should there be change?
Mr. Chairman, it certainly is the case that they have been the internal audit firm for a number of years.
Yep.
Their appointment was on a 2-year term with a 1-year option. The committee did consider the appropriateness of accepting the extension of that 3rd-year term, but certainly I think the organisation has been reasonably well served by that firm in time. It has a real familiarity with the organisation. It proposed a 3-year program at which we're approaching the end of year 2. So the recommendation is certainly to accept that extension, but quite clearly to go to the market then approaching the end of year 3.
If I can add value to that as well, Mr. Mayor, and answer to that, Councillor Nixon. We have sought for some continuity for a further 12 months because there's so much happening in the organisation, particularly around the Technology One project. So we have consulted with the QAO to extend the services of our current contract at least for the 18-19 year. So that allows us a bit of time to bed down the new technology, but also to leverage the existing experience that we have both in our internal audit contract but our external audit contract. If we start again fresh now while we're in midway through this major project in the organisation, we have to revisit the learning curve of those new organisations that start. So the investment that the council organisation will have to make into both internal audit and external audit will be significant. And I just don't think we have that time available with everything else that's going on and the change of the organisation. So it makes some common sense to extend for a further 12-month period. But as the manager has indicated, we do need to go to the market for some fresh eyes into our organisation. And, we are conscious of that as well. So there's a level of practicality of the request that has been considered by the committee as well to give you a sense of understanding what we're thinking for that decision.
Yeah, because I think that there should be a length of time for those people. I think you need new eyes. And as I said, they've been there for the audit committee for a length of time. So yeah, I just want.
Any other questions, councillors? Would anyone have anything else there? Very good report, excellent report. And obviously, within the recommendation there's obviously a very short process, which is always good. But I mean, there's obviously in those recommendations there's a number of references. I don't know whether they're worth going through there. There's obviously some, obviously some of the priorities for the internal audits for this year, which is good. They always seem to be refreshing those. And obviously some savings, I would imagine, Carl, to potentially the insurance fund.
That's the intent, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Without there being any pressure whatsoever. You're right. Well, councillors, the recommendation here is fairly lengthy, and it contains several moving parts there, so I'm happy to move that. Moved by councillor Roll, seconded, councillor Godwin Smith. Got a mover and a seconder, all those in favour? Against? Thank you.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jay. All right, which brings us to item 16.1, which is the Central Highlands Development Corporation Service Level Agreement update. General Manager Sandra Holt is here. You have no one to introduce you, Sandra, so you'll have to speak for yourself. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Central Highlands Regional Council provides financial contribution to Central Highlands Development Corporation for the delivery of services responding to key priority 3 of the Central Highlands Regional Council 2017-2018 operational plan. CHDC is required to deliver progress reports on measurable activities identified through the service level agreement Schedule B that was endorsed by Central Highlands Regional Council at the 26th of September 2017 council meeting. So the components of that agreement recognise the multifaceted relationship between the two organisations. Firstly, that the council provides financial resources for the conduct and delivery of activities that facilitate economic development and promotes the development of tourism in the Central Highlands region. And secondly, that CHDC applies the financial resources to deliver agreed services to maintain a leadership role in fostering economic development, including tourism in the Central Highlands region. The service level agreement responds to those categories in key priority 3 of the Central Highlands Regional Council operational plan. Key priority 3 is supporting our local economy, to facilitate investment and employment opportunities, to support local businesses and emerging industries, with the aim of fostering a close working relationship between the two organisations, promote consistency of service delivery and communication between the organisations, and strengthen the support for each organisation to enable clear, consistent and successful economic development and tourism development services for the Central Highlands region. I'd like to present to you the CHDC 2017-2018 operational plan with identified projects and related activities, budget and staffing allocations, deliverables and performance indicators. This report refers to the current status of those activities as to deliverables as to the date of the 30th of April 2018. I'll take it that that report has been read. Are there any other questions?
Yes,
Yeah, just tourism officer.
Yes.
Have we got one?
We're reviewing Thursday. So,
You've asked one.
Sorry?
You've asked for one, you've been with somebody.
So Pete, the current tourism development officer, their employment finished with CHDC last Friday, and we have advertised for the position, and we have got 6 that we're interviewing on Thursday.
Excellent.
So,
It's a prestigious role.
it's certainly a role that has been interest in relation to the diversity of what that role can provide.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, I just wondered whether you advertised or anyone.
Yeah, but it was advertised, it was open for 3 weeks, and it closed on the.
Oh, that's good.
And the previous incumbent is actually going to return about mid-June to actually do a handover, so I've got someone by that time.
Very good, thank you.
Councillor
Not sure, Mayor, what page it's on, but if you go down to the CQM and audit and funding submission, the Leader Roads, when is that? Regional Growth Fund, when is that?
the question which is closed on the 27th of April.
April.
So it's closed and are both submitted. Certainly from council. And there are other applications on.
Yes, I wasn't.
So, and we're also currently in the process of finalising the draft operational plan for the financial, for the 2018-19 financial year.
And just,
Yeah, go ahead.
just to note, and congratulate you all on the profit from the 18th. Profit on that, that's good.
And with that, there was also the Mungandai partnership with the Mungandai group, with the
Yes.
ASEC there, and that was very successful as well.
Did you work on the CD?
Just, while we're talking SMART-DC, haven't contemplated moving to a better position?
Part of the issue is the cost and whether alternative positions that the size capability are, but we have a current lease for another 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's going on, but I was just thinking across the road.
Any other questions?
Solid, yeah, I was just, you answered the question earlier in relation to the new operational plan, but this is obviously from
This is
17, 18.
current financial year, yes. So, there is a lot of planning around projects and events and, opportunities in the next financial year. And that will be a component of what we bring to the council in relation to, the financial contribution of council proposal next and the service agreement for next financial year.
Anyone have that?
Yeah.
All good.
And just, Councillor Goodwin, so just in relation to that, if there's any of those activities you would want to have a discussion about, welcome.
No, it's just, it's been a huge year. It's been operational.
Right, councillors, well, there's the recommendation there that we accept the April progress report of the SMART-DC. Someone has moved that? Moved by councillor Grimble, second by councillor Nixon. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Thank you very much, Sandra. All right,
What's your late agenda?
we've got our late agenda, which, as we have been want to do, is the actual committee record, a couple of docs on tap, so the minutes for our three standing committees are up in here, or one doc on tap. And there's a hard copy.
Oh, that's Wondering what was coming in the late agenda, it's so thick.
No, we try to limit late items on the agenda. Councillors?
All right, so councillors, they're the three there that we can adopt together there. So someone have to move those? Moved by councillor Godwin, second councillor Daniels. I'm just happy to make sure that they're in that order, so your the first one's there, your finance and infrastructure, followed by communities, followed by leadership and governance. In your respective minute takers, the draft of those under that shape. All right, councillor, got a move and a second. All in favour? Against? Thank you.
I'd just like to make one comment that I heard in the community talking about the Clean Up Australia Day, and no one was interested in Springshore going. We were interested in Springshore.
Well, I didn't hear that comment, and I thought you might have left your attention at the time, but I think I understood that the comment was that there was interest, but yeah.
Certainly. Yes, Peter said that there was no one interested, so they never had it in Springshore.
Yeah. So anyhow,
We even suggested we have it later on, but that was kind of, I'd just like probably to let people know that we do want it next year.
Yeah.
I will make that
Through the mayor, if I can clarify that, Perry did come in and see me afterwards and said that, there was a long time between conversations about why the other towns hadn't had it, so he thought that was the case, but we can find out the real reason why it wasn't in Scripture. In terms of the later date, Clean Up Australia Day is set on a specific date of the year, as part of their materials, but that's not saying the council can't do their own, or each town can't do their own sort of initiative. If it needs to be at a later date, if that was the reason for it this year.
It was actually raised at one of the standing committees previously that we had it in April because it wasn't held in March. And then it never went ahead, so. But anyway,
No, we're going to have that discussion.
what bid for next year?
Yeah. All right, councillors, well, general business, I think Councillor Brimblecombe, do you want to raise something?
There is an issue with cemeteries, and it's basically finding out who are in our cemeteries. There's been
Dead people.
It's definitely dead people in the dead centre of many towns.
You've still got a councillor. Sorry, Councillor Brimblecombe.
Are they not answering your letters,
It's basically come about because we've had inquiries at Doringa, and we've got people who there's many voids in Doringa, more than at Blackwater, and it's basically known who's in those voids. You may not be able to know who is in a particular void, but I'd like to know who is in our voids. And it's very hard to find that information. There's a lot of that information within our council records has been lost. Hopefully some of those records are within state records, but it's very hard to access those records unless you have a specific name and to find out what the date was and where they're buried. So to facilitate, I said, some of the knowledge within our council, I'd like to be able to find out who is buried within Central Highlands, not just Doringa, not just Blackwater, not just Dingo, but throughout the whole Central Highlands area, but find out who's buried within our area, and it would possibly identify an area also, whether it's Springshaw or Bogan, just to find out who's within our area. So when we have approaches to find out who's within the cemetery, we can say, yes, those people are here within our area.
Just through the mayor, I know that Virginia Shire have one of their records destroyed, and they don't know for about a 20-year space. They don't know who's there, but they tried to find out who was there, but
unless I've made inquiries with the state, unless you have a specific name, they can't answer that question. So whether it goes into also through the Local Government Association, changing that legislation so we can find out who's within an area, I don't know. It's finding out who's within our area.
Yeah, I mean, that's different to, no,
I think I turned you off.
put sticky tape over that, Mr. CEO.
Just try it now.
No, neither of us.
I'll speak up.
I've used it too many times.
Be selective, I can
It works 3 times a meeting, and we've used it. Sorry, Councillor Rob. But look, I just wondered whether.
Isn't there a difference between what Councillor Brimblecombe is asking and actually what the legislation is? So I can't go into, and I can go to the state, what do you call it, marriages, and find out where my granddad's buried in Springshaw. But I couldn't go and get a list of, just get a list of people who's.
Yeah. Well, look, I think this resolution from Councillor Brimblecombe just asking it to be included in the strategy, and I suppose a little bit further investigation might I wasn't going to say unearth.
Now it's
would actually would actually get you to a point where you can actually start considering where you might have to seek them out and some resources around it. So I think it's worthwhile. I think we've had different requests over a whole period of time about where things are located, and I'm sure if some person, I mean, it might even be someone like Margaret Rawsthorne, who's been very, very good at uncovering some information around some of the diggers that weren't on the cenotaph around the Central Highlands. She's found those. I mean, you might resource a sort of person like that can at least find out where we need to get to and what we need to change.
It's to fill the.
Yes.
In our information.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, all right, so Councillor Brindle-Combs put that up there, proposed that, at least to get it to a point where we can actually work on that. Does someone have a second that? Seconded by Councillor Nixon. All in favour? Against? Thank you. We all come to life. Unanimous. Thank you.
I think if you kindly go through Trove, you'll find a lot of history.
Yes, it's true. It's quite a good resource. Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. There's been quite a number of requests. Yeah. And obviously some work that we've done, even with our work for Queensland, we're trying to find the right boundaries to where people are in and out. So.
Yeah, and also we really need a comprehensive list of where all the cemeteries are across the country.
As an example, down at Durango on the other side of the Dawson River, there used to be a railway stop, Bullbrook. There's a small cemetery attached to that. And it's being eaten away by the river.
Yeah, all right. Any other GB councillors, general business, before we've got a couple of closed sessions either before we get to our meeting. So. All right. Councillor Nixon's moved that we move into closed session, second by Councillor Godwin's moved. And as the standing committee, standing orders are in relation to all those officers and staff that aren't required around those items, please leave the room now. Turn off those screens. So all in favour?